It was a Tuesday afternoon in March. I was 10 years old, standing in Mark's doorway, holding the shattered pieces of his Model B-17 bomber, the plane he'd spent 3 months building, the plane he'd warned me never to touch. My hands were trembling. I'd only wanted to look at it, to see how the tiny decals lined up so perfectly on the wings, but it had slipped. The whole thing had just exploded against his desk. Mark's face went white, then red. His fists clenched. For a second, I thought he might actually hit me, but then something worse happened. His expression shifted, smoothed out. A cold smile crept across his face. "Get out," he said quietly. I ran. 20 minutes later, he found me in the backyard, hiding behind Mom's rose bushes. He sat down next to me, his voice soft, almost gentle. That should have been my first warning. "You know why you're like this, right?" he asked. I shook my head, still crying. "You heard Mom and Dad fighting last year, didn't you? In their bedroom?" I had heard something. Raised voices. My mother crying. I'd pressed my ear to their door, but I couldn't make out the words, just the pain in her voice. "They were fighting about you," Mark continued, his voice a perfect mix of concern and cruelty. "I wasn't supposed to hear either, but I did. Dad said you were a mistake, that they'd adopted you to try to save their marriage. That's why you don't fit." The words hit me like ice water. "That's why you look different," he said. "Why you act different. You're not really one of us, Anna. You're the other one." I wanted to call him a liar. I wanted to scream, but everything suddenly made a horrible kind of sense. Why Mom had dark hair like me, but Mark looked exactly like Dad. Why I cried at movies while Mark rolled his eyes. Why I loved painting while he loved sports. Why I always felt like I was watching our family from the outside. That night, I confronted them. Mom and Dad were in the kitchen. I remember Dad was making coffee. Mom was reading the newspaper. Normal. Safe. "Am I adopted?" I blurted out. They both froze. The coffee pot hissed. Mom's newspaper crinkled in her suddenly tight grip. They looked at each other with this expression, this sad, exhausted, defeated expression that I would see 1,000 more times over the next 15 years. "No," Mom started. "Mark told me. He said you adopted me. He said I was a mistake." More silence. Longer this time. "We love you, Anna," Dad finally said. His voice was careful. Too careful. "That's all that matters. That's all you need to know. But am I?" "We love you," he repeated, firmer now. "Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." They never said no. They never said, "You're ours." They never said, "Mark is lying." They just deflected, redirected. And in that silence, in that careful non-denial, the lie took root. For 15 years, I believed I didn't belong. The lie didn't just live in my head. It built walls. It created rules. It restructured our entire family around a fiction that only Mark and I fully believed, but that my parents allowed to exist. When Mark turned 16, Dad took him to the dealership. They came back with a silver Honda Civic with a red bow on the hood. Mark stood in the driveway, grinning, jingling the keys. I watched from my bedroom window, feeling that familiar ache in my chest. 2 months later, on my 16th birthday, Mom handed me a laminated bus pass. "You're not mad, are you?" she asked, her voice hopeful, desperate for me to understand. "It's just, Mark's more responsible. He's got a job lined up. He needs the car for college visits." "You understand, don't you?" I understood perfectly. The real son gets the car. The spare daughter gets public transportation. "Sure," I said. "I understand." Mark took me aside later that night. "Hey, if you need a ride somewhere, just ask," he said, all big brother magnanimity. "I don't mind helping out." Helping out. Like I was a charity case in my own family. Senior year was worse. Mark applied to Stanford, Yale, Princeton. Dad's alma mater was Cornell, and that's where Mark ultimately decided to go. Dad spent hours helping him with his essays, drove him to campus visits, paid for SAT prep courses. When it was my turn, Dad sat me down at the kitchen table with a stack of state school brochures. "Let's be realistic, Anna," he said. "You're a good student, but you're not. Mark didn't get into Cornell because of luck. He worked for it. Maybe you should think about schools that are more achievable." Achievable. As if my dreams needed to be smaller because my bloodline was different. I applied to Cornell anyway. I got in. Financial aid, partial scholarship, the works. When the acceptance letter arrived, I ran downstairs waving it, tears in my eyes. I got in. I got into Cornell. Mom hugged me. Dad smiled. But there was something dim in that smile. Something reluctant. "That's wonderful, honey," Mom said. "But have you thought about the cost? Even with aid, it's so expensive. And you'd be so far from home. Maybe one of the state schools." "Mark's going to Cornell," I said. "Mark has his scholarship and his trust fund from Grandpa. You know that." I didn't know that. Nobody had ever mentioned Mark's trust fund. "So I don't get a trust fund?" Silence. That familiar, awful silence. "It's complicated," Dad said. It wasn't complicated. Mark was family. I was a guest. I went to state. I studied art. I got good grades. Nobody came to my exhibitions. Dad never missed Mark's lacrosse games. The pattern was clear. Mark's successes were celebrated. My successes were expected. Mark's failures were phases, understandable mistakes, growing pains. My failures were character flaws, proof that I was broken, different, less. When Mark got a DUI sophomore year, Dad hired a lawyer. Boys make mistakes, he said. We're not going to ruin his future over one bad choice. When I came home an hour past curfew junior year because my bus broke down, I was grounded for a month. We expect better from you, Anna. Better. Always better. As if I had to earn my place while Mark simply existed in his. Mark knew exactly what he was doing. He wielded that secret like a scalpel, cutting me down whenever I got too confident, too happy, too close to forgetting my place. At Thanksgiving dinner, he'd mention how real families had certain traditions. At Christmas, he'd joke about how I was the wild card in our gene pool. At Easter, he'd wonder aloud if I ever wanted to find my real parents. And my parents, my real parents, though I didn't know it then, just let it happen. They'd wince. They'd change the subject, but they never corrected him. They never defended me. They sacrificed me to maintain his lie. By the time I was 25, I'd learned to expect nothing. I'd stopped calling Mark my brother and started calling him my parents' son. I'd stopped visiting for holidays unless absolutely necessary. I'd built a life in the city, 2 hours away, where nobody knew I was the adopted one, the different one, the other. I had my own apartment, my own job as a graphic designer, my own friends who liked me for who I was. I dated. I laughed. I was almost happy. But there was always this weight, this knowledge that I wasn't enough, that somewhere, in some fundamental way, I was broken, unwanted, a consolation prize. I went to therapy. Dr. Reeves was patient, kind. She asked about my family. They love me, I said. They love him more. Have you ever asked them directly about the adoption? They won't talk about it. They just say they love me and change the subject. And that's enough for you? It wasn't. It had never been enough. But what choice did I have? I saw Mark maybe twice a year. He'd moved back home after college, taken a job at Dad's firm, bought a house 10 minutes from our parents. The Golden Son, building his golden life. He got engaged when he was 26. Stephanie was beautiful, blonde, a kindergarten teacher, perfect. The engagement party was at our parents' house. Champagne, toasts. Dad gave a speech about how proud he was, how Mark was everything he'd hoped for in a son. I wasn't mentioned. I got drunk that night. Not fall down drunk, just numb drunk. Mark found me in the backyard, sitting on the porch swing. "You okay, sis?" he asked. "Don't call me that," he laughed. "Come on, I know we've had our issues, but we're family. Are we?" His smile faltered. "What's that supposed to mean?" "You know exactly what it means." He sat down next to me. For a moment, I thought he might actually apologize, might actually acknowledge the years of poison he'd dripped into my childhood. But instead, he patted my hand like I was a child. "Look, I know it's hard sometimes, being the different one, but Mom and Dad do love you, in their own way." "In their own way," I repeated. "Yeah, it's different, you know, because you're, well, you know." I stood up. The champagne was making me brave, or stupid. "I know," I said. "I'm not really part of this family." Message received, Mark. Loud and clear for 15 years. I left the party early. Mom called the next day asking if I was all right. I said I was fine. She didn't push. The call came on a Thursday morning in October. I was at work, designing a logo for a client, when my phone buzzed. Dad's number. "Anna." His voice was wrong, hollow. "It's your mother." My heart stopped. "The cancer's back," he said. It's everywhere. Pancreas, liver, lungs. They're saying weeks, maybe a month." I don't remember driving to the hospital. I don't remember parking. I just remember walking into that room and seeing her, my mother, my strong, careful, sad mother, looking so small in that bed. "Hi, baby," she whispered. I held her hand. It was so thin. When had she gotten so thin? The next 4 weeks were a blur. I took leave from work. I moved back into my childhood bedroom. I sat with Mom every day, reading to her, talking to her, just being there. Mark came by after work. Dad barely left her side. We were a family again, united by impending loss. Mom drifted in and out. Sometimes she was lucid, sharp, herself. Other times the morphine took her somewhere else. She talked about her childhood, her parents, her wedding day. She told stories I'd never heard. One afternoon, just her and me, she grabbed my hand. "Anna," she said, "I need to tell you something." "Mom, rest. We can talk later." "No, listen." Her grip was surprisingly strong. "I made mistakes. I let things happen that shouldn't have happened. I was trying to protect everyone, but I hurt you. I know I hurt you. Mom, just let me say this. You are loved. You are wanted. You are mine. Do you understand? You are mine." I thought she was confused. The morphine talking. "I know, Mom." No, her eyes were fierce. "You don't know, but you will. The journal. Read the journal." "What journal?" But she drifted off again. I asked Dad about a journal. He didn't know what I was talking about. I asked Mark. He shrugged. Mom died on a Tuesday, the same day of the week I'd learned I was adopted. There was a symmetry, too, that I didn't appreciate. The funeral was gray. gray. Gray sky, gray rain, gray people in gray clothes murmuring gray condolences. I wore black, so did everyone else. But it all felt gray. Mark delivered the eulogy. He was perfect, composed. He talked about Mom's strength, her kindness, her unconditional love. People cried. Dad cried. I cried. She was the best mother anyone could ask for, Mark said, his voice breaking in exactly the right places. She gave everything for her family, everything for her son, singular. After the service, we went back to the house. People filled every room, neighbors, colleagues, distant relatives, people I didn't know who claimed to have known Mom. They ate casseroles and said nice things and told us to let them know if we needed anything. I needed them all to leave. Mark was in the living room, accepting condolences like he was receiving a crown, playing the grieving son, the man of the house, his house, as he kept mentioning to people. Dad had already signed it over to him. "Where are you going to go?" someone asked me. "Back to the city," I said. "Oh, you don't live here?" "No." "Oh," a pause. "Well, it's nice you could come." Nice I could come. To my mother's funeral. I couldn't breathe. I walked upstairs, past people I didn't know, to Mom's bedroom. It was the only room in the house that still smelled like her lavender and vanilla and something else. Something uniquely her. I sat on her bed. The same bed I'd crawled into as a child when I had nightmares. The same bed where she'd read me stories and smoothed my hair and promised everything would be okay. Her nightstand drawer was slightly open. I almost didn't look. It felt invasive, wrong. But her words echoed in my head. The journal. Read the journal. I opened the drawer. Beneath her reading glasses, beneath a half-empty blister pack of pain medication, was a leather-bound book, dark blue, worn at the edges. I pulled it out. My hands were shaking. I opened the journal. The first entry was dated 30 years ago. Mom's handwriting was younger, rounder, more optimistic. First day of marriage. I can't believe I'm someone's wife. I keep looking at the ring. Mrs. Patterson. That's me now. I flipped through. Entries about her job, about Dad, about trying to get pregnant. Pages and pages of hope and disappointment. Then, we're going to adopt. Dr. Chen says it's our best option. I'm heartbroken, but I'm also excited. We're going to be parents. That's what matters. My heart clenched. Here it was. Proof. I was the adopted one. I skipped ahead, looking for my name, looking for the day they brought me home. I found entries about the adoption process, the paperwork, the waiting, the hoping. Adoption day. We brought him home. His name is Mark. He's 2 years old, and he's perfect. I stopped. Read it again. Him. Mark. He's 2 years old. The room tilted. I flipped back, frantic now, looking for what? Proof that I was reading it wrong? An explanation? Mark took his first steps today, I cried. He's ours now. Completely ours. We've decided never to tell him. Why should he feel different? He is our son. He always will be. Mark started preschool. He cried. I cried. My baby boy. The dates blurred. I kept reading. A year passed in the journal. Then, I'm pregnant. I can't believe it. After everything, after we'd given up hope, I'm pregnant. Dr. Chen called it a miracle. I call it terrifying. What if Mark feels replaced? What if he knows somehow that this baby is real and he isn't? I can't let that happen. We can't let that happen. The next entry. We had a girl, Anna. She's beautiful. She has my eyes, my nose, my chin. She's mine. I made her. After so many years of feeling broken, I made her. But looking at her, all I can think about is Mark. He's upstairs with Jim's mother, sleeping. He doesn't know yet. He doesn't know his world is about to change. I'm terrified he'll feel less loved, less real. Jim and I have talked about it. We'll never tell him, as far as anyone knows. He's ours. Biological, real. He'll never doubt it. I couldn't breathe. I kept reading, entry after entry. Years of maintaining the lie. Years of protecting Mark from a truth he never suspected. Until Anna came home crying today. She said Mark told her she was adopted. She asked us directly. I wanted to tell her the truth. I wanted to hold her and explain everything. But Jim looked at Mark, and Mark looked so scared, so fragile. If Anna knew the truth, Mark would know too. And we can't do that to him. We can't let him feel like he's not really ours. So we said nothing. We gave her vague reassurances. And I watched my daughter, my real daughter, walk away believing she's the outsider. I felt sick. But what choice do we have? The entry was from 15 years ago, right after Mark told me his lie. My parents had known. They'd known the truth, and they'd let me suffer. They'd sacrificed their biological daughter to protect their adopted son's feelings. I kept reading. Years of entries. Guilt. Justification. More guilt. Mark got into Cornell. Anna got in too, but we're pushing her toward state school. It's cheaper, we tell ourselves. More practical. But the truth is, we're giving Mark everything because we owe him. Because we chose him. Anna was a gift. Mark was a choice. And choices require commitment, investment, proof. We're proving we chose right, even if it means Anna pays the price. I was going to be sick. The final entries were recent, weeks ago. Mom's handwriting was shakier, morphine-addled, dying. The cancer is back. It's everywhere. I'm dying, and my only real regret is Anna, the years we lost, the lie we maintained. She lived her whole life thinking she wasn't ours, wasn't wanted, and she was the most wanted, the miracle, my baby girl. I hope she can forgive me. I hope she finds this journal. I hope she knows the truth. The next entry, dated a week later. I just hope Mark never finds out. He couldn't handle it. His whole identity is built on being our son, our real son. If he knew the truth that he was the chosen one, that Anna was the biological one, it would destroy him. I'm taking this secret to my grave. Let him believe the lie. Let him keep his identity. Let Anna be free. The last entry was 3 days before she died. I told Anna to read the journal. I don't know if she will. I don't know if I did the right thing, but she deserves the truth. Mark deserves his peace. I can't give them both what they need. I'm not strong enough. I'm not good enough. I tried to protect everyone and ended up hurting the one person who should have been protected most. My daughter. My miracle. My Anna. I closed the journal. I sat there for I don't know how long. Minutes. Hours. The voices downstairs ebbed and flowed. Someone laughed. A door closed. The house creaked. My entire life had been built on a lie. Not Mark's lie. My parents' lie. They had let me believe I was adopted to protect his feelings, to protect his sense of identity. They had sacrificed me, their biological daughter, their miracle baby, to make sure their adopted son never felt different. And Mark had sensed something, some fundamental truth about himself. And instead of confronting it, he'd weaponized it. He'd pointed at me and said, "She's the different one." And our parents had let him. The rage came slowly. Then all at once, I stood. The journal was in my hands. Proof, evidence, truth. I walked downstairs. The crowd had thinned. It was mostly family now. Dad was in his chair staring at nothing. Aunt Linda was cleaning up. Uncle George was talking quietly with Dad's brother. Mark was in the kitchen, pouring wine for Stephanie's mother. I walked straight toward him. He looked up, saw my face. "Anna, you okay?" I didn't answer. I walked up to him and held out the journal. "Open to the last page. Read it," I said. My voice sounded strange, flat. "What?" "Read it." He took the journal, confused. His eyes scanned the page. I watched his face, watched the exact moment he understood. The color drained. His eyes went wide. His mouth opened, closed, opened again. The wine glass in his other hand slipped. It shattered on the tile. Red wine spread like blood. "That's," he started. His voice was barely a whisper. "That's not. She was sick. She didn't know what she was writing. The morphine." "She knew," I said. "Read the rest." I flipped back, showed him the entry from 30 years ago. The adoption day. His adoption day. He read it. I watched him to inside. "No," he said. "No, that's wrong. It's her handwriting. She made a mistake. She meant you, Mark. You were adopted. Not me. You." He looked at me. Really looked at me. For the first time in 28 years, he saw me as I actually was. His biological sister's daughter. The real daughter. The one who actually belonged. And he saw himself as he actually was. The chosen one. The adopted one. The lie. "I didn't know," he whispered. "You suspected. That's why you told me I was adopted. You could feel it. You knew you were different. I was 10. You were cruel. You spent 15 years making me feel like I didn't belong. And Mom and Dad let you. They let me suffer to protect you." People were staring now. Dad had stood up. Aunt Linda was frozen with a casserole dish in her hands. Mark's face crumpled. "I didn't know," he said again. "Anna, I swear, I didn't. You knew enough." He reached for me. I stepped back. "All those years," I said. "The car, the college fund, the trust fund, the attention, the love, all of it. You got all of it. Because they were trying to prove they'd made the right choice. They were trying to prove you were worth it. And I was the proof. The biological daughter they could neglect to show how much they loved their chosen son. Anna, they sacrificed me for you." Silence. Complete, utter silence. Mark looked at the journal in his hands, at the shattered glass at his feet, at me. "What do you want me to say?" he asked quietly. "Nothing," I said. "There's nothing you can say. Your whole life is a lie. Your identity, your place in this family, all of it, and you can never fix it." I took the journal back. "She's dead," I said. "You can stop protecting yourself now." I looked at the wine spreading across the floor. "Clean it up," I said. Then I turned and walked out. I didn't go back inside. I got in my car, my 10-year-old Honda, that I'd bought myself, and I drove. I didn't know where I was going. I just drove. My phone buzzed. Dad. Then Mark. Then Dad again. I turned it off. I drove for hours. The city lights faded. The suburbs gave way to farmland. The sun set. I kept driving. Eventually, I pulled over at a rest stop, sat in my car, looked at the journal on the passenger seat. My mother had loved me. In her broken, cowardly way, she had loved me. She just loved her lie more. She'd loved her adopted son's feelings more than her biological daughter's reality. And my father who looked just like Mark, who'd probably seen himself in Mark, who'd wanted so badly for Mark to be his real son that he'd given him everything, including me. He'd given Mark my childhood. I thought about Mark's face, the horror, the realization, 28 years of identity gone in a paragraph. I didn't feel sorry for him. I started the car, drove drove back to the city, to my apartment, my space, my life. When I finally turned my phone back on, there were 37 missed calls, 16 voicemails, 42 texts. I deleted them all, except one, from Mark, sent 3 hours ago. I'm sorry, 2 words. After 15 years of torture, 2 words. I typed back, I know you are, but sorry doesn't give me back what you took. I blocked his number. It's been 3 months since Mom's funeral. 3 months since I learned the truth. Dad has tried to reach out. He wants to explain, wants me to understand their reasoning, wants us to be a family again. I told him we were never a family. We were a theater production. He and Mom were the directors. Mark was the star, and I was the understudy who never got to perform. Mark has tried too. Letters, emails, showing up at my apartment. He's seeing a therapist. He's working through his identity crisis. He wants me to know he's processing his trauma. The trauma of finding out he was loved so much that his parents sacrificed their biological daughter to protect his feelings. The trauma of learning he was the golden child, the chosen one, the recipient of every advantage. I haven't responded. I'm seeing Dr. Reeves again. She's helping me process my own trauma, the real kind. The kind that comes from being gaslit by your entire family for 15 years. Do you think you'll ever forgive them? She asked last week. Which them? My parents for sacrificing me? Or my brother for weaponizing my pain? Any of them. I thought about it. Maybe, I said. Eventually, but not today, and not for them. For me. Because that's what I'm learning. That forgiveness isn't about them. It's about me letting go of the weight of not belonging, the weight of being the other. I finally know who I am. I'm Anna Patterson, biological daughter, miracle baby, the one who is actually supposed to be there. And Mark is still figuring out who he is. He's no longer the golden child. He's no longer the heir. He's just a 31-year-old man with an identity crisis and a lifetime of unearned advantages. I don't hate him. I don't love him. I feel nothing. He's a stranger who happened to live in my house and destroy my childhood. And that's okay, because I'm finally free. I went to Mom's grave last week. It was the first time since the funeral. I brought flowers, white roses, her favorite. I stood there, looking at her name carved in granite, and I said the things I'd needed to say. You were a coward. You chose his feelings over my reality. You let me suffer to protect him, and I'll never understand that. But you were also my mother. You loved me in your broken way. You gave me life. You gave me art. You gave me strength, even if you didn't mean to. So, thank you, and goodbye. I left the flowers and walked away. I don't know if I'll go back. Maybe someday, when it doesn't hurt so much. When I've built a life big enough that the past can't touch it. For now, I'm just moving forward. One step at a time. The real daughter, finally home.